Does foreign policy matter in the United States presidential elections?
Foreign policy should be a very serious issue. I mean, it is a gigantic issue, especially with the mess the world is in, the economies of Europe going one way, the conflagration in the Middle East, the huge, almost irrational sensitivity that we have to Israel and its concerns, the impending something, we know not what, with Iran. It should be front and center, but it isn't. We are worried about jobs, we are worried about a set of social issues, a set of ideological issues, which have not always been present. They've been in, they've been out, but we're probably in a more ideological frame of mind today than we ever have been, especially on the right, especially from Romney and the Conservatives. They want ideology to play in this election. Obama wants the status quo to continue with some improvement in the economy.
Who is advising Mitt Romney and who is advising President Barack Obama?
Mitt Romney is being advised by an outfit that calls itself the Foreign Policy Initiative. My colleague, Linda Gasparello, has been looking into this, and these are people basically out of the Bush administration and out of the former vice president's office, the former President George W. Bush and his vice president Cheney, not in his office, but that advised his office. They're called the neocons, for neoconservatives. They're all back together. John Bolton, who was briefly at the United Nations, a very hard line. People don't respect America. They talk a lot about American exceptionalism, this rather hazy idea that there's almost a divine mission on earth for the United States. And they include people well known in this country like William Crystal of the Weekly Standard. These are the people who urged George W. Bush into Iraq. These are the people who urged him to stay the course in Afghanistan. These are the people who, in my opinion, put Israel first and foremost as the largest concern the U.S. has, which means they are people that are, if not fostering disagreements with Russia, but certainly driving them home when there's a disagreement, and who would like to see some military, as far as I can divine from their statements, some military action against Iran to stop the enrichment of uranium up to weapons grade. These are people, these are retreads of magnificently failed ideologues.
And how about advisors of Barack Obama?
That's simple in a way. It is the State Department. It is the National Security Council. He is the president. So the whole apparatus of government advises him. Now there's probably a little external from some of the more liberal think tanks like the Brookings Institution, which is very slightly left of center in the American political spectrum, which is very different from the political spectrum, say, in Europe. Slightly left of center, more concerned with humanitarian issues. But I think that Hillary Rodham Clinton, the Secretary of State, has an enormous power. And don't discount her husband, the former President, William Jefferson Clinton.
Could we sum it up by your defining what is the key foreign policy issue for the United States?
I think the key foreign real issue is to keep the price of oil down, to keep the Straits of Hormuz open. The one that the politicians are talking about, the one that is being promoted, is not that. It is Israel, the fate of Israel, and Israel vis-a-vis developments in Iran. Israel is of uncommon interest to American politicians of both sides. It's because Israel is able, or their sympathizers in the U.S., the Jewish community, very innocently, though, are a great source of funding for politicians. They're politically active, they tend to be very affluent, and so we get into this rather ridiculous thing that we've seen in this election. Who is the greater friend of Israel? I mean, Israel has a massive friend in the United States. It's not in dispute. This cooked-up thing about Netanyahu fighting with President Obama, the Prime Minister of Israel, fighting. Prime Minister of Israel thinks he understands American politics because he was the ambassador here and has many friends here. I've met him, I know him slightly. He doesn't. He has a disproportionate interest in American politics because he thinks it can sway his domestic politics. But his domestic politics are much less enthusiastic about belligerence in the Middle East than some of his American friends. For example, a full half of the Israeli people and nearly all of the former heads of their military and Mossad, their much admired secret service, are against any bombing of Iran because of the conflagration would be so enormous. So Netanyahu is playing the American card because he doesn't have a card at home.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.